Hello, and welcome to Last Week in DeFi. This is the inaugural edition of the podcast. It's experimental. I'm not sure if there will be any more, but if this goes well, maybe it will. So yeah, let's get into it. Last Week in DeFi is our weekly newsletter, which recaps the last week in DeFi, pretty obviously. So let's get into it. Last week was pretty cool. I think there was actually a few significant launches, and that's why I wanted to start the podcast this week. So first of all, Moonwell. Moonwell is the largest lending protocol on Base. I believe it's based on Compound Finance, so it's a fork managed by Gauntlet, and they're doing pretty well. And they just announced the Moonwell card, which we usually would not really pay attention that much to a credit card launch, but this one I think sort of makes sense. If you're in crypto, you're probably bullish crypto, and then you might be long ETH, you might be long Bitcoin, and you don't really want to sell until you think the bull market is over, or if you're really diehard, you may not want to sell at all. So I think lending protocols like this, or maybe with Gnosis Pay, make a lot of sense because they let you borrow against your crypto, and pay for your expenses, pay for that beer, and you don't have to sell your crypto. So yeah, pretty cool. All right, next up we have a lot of stuff. I'm gonna say right now that the last week in DeFi has a lot of content because it's a full week of news, and I'm not gonna go over everything because it's just gonna take way too long. I'm just gonna focus on the stuff that I find super interesting. I'm gonna focus more on technical updates, and then a few like maybe major tokenomic changes. So it'll be a little bit more high time frame, a little bit more investment oriented, but there should be still some trading and maybe some farming insights as well. Okay, so the next major update from my perspective was Balancer v3. So Balancer is kind of an OG DeFi protocol. It's very similar to Uniswap, but instead of a pair, they allow like multiple assets in a pool. So it's already pretty cool. And now they have v3. And yeah, let's look into v3. So it's a major version upgrade. They're claiming that there's a 10x improvement in DX, which is like their development experience. So I guess it'll be easier to develop on Balancer. And then they have 100% boosted pools. So I think Balancer actually had this to some extent before, but now they're expanding it, and it's a pretty cool concept. So boosted pools, let's scroll down. Boosted pools route their liquidity to lending markets like Aave. So that means that if you're an LP in this pool, you're also earning yield through lending markets. And I think that's really cool. So this is kind of like the converse of Fluid Dex. Fluid Dex recently, they're basically a lending protocol, and then they also supply your liquidity to DEXs. So you're earning trading fees and also interest. And this is the same thing, but from the other side, because Balancer is a DEX, not a lending protocol. So it's just a really cool idea, and it's kind of interesting that various like cutting edge DeFi projects are converging on similar ideas like this. So yeah, you can see that you can get pretty good yields here, and that's just like the lending stuff, not from the swap fees. Yeah. And then v3 also has other stuff. So they have ECLP. ECLP is a concept from Gyroscope, which is a stablecoin protocol. They have like these innovative AMM curves, which are more efficient because they concentrate trade liquidity, similar to v3, Uni v3, but they have more customized shapes, which can be useful for various assets. Finally, they have BTFs, which are, it sounds like these are kind of like ETFs, like index funds. I haven't looked into it yet. I'll look into it probably later. And then they also have hooks, which is similar concept to Uniswap v4, except Balancer is actually out. So yeah, it's pretty cool stuff and a few tokenomic changes as well. Yeah. Balancer is a pretty OG project. I think they have good ideas, and yeah, I think this is a pretty cool upgrade, and we'll probably dive into it at some point. Okay, Pendle Swap. Pendle actually has a built-in swap, so this is just an upgrade of that where you can swap multiple coins at the same time. And last time I checked and used it, the execution is actually pretty good. So, yeah. Okay, and then Kamino. Okay, this is kind of interesting as well. Kamino is a lending market on Solana, and now they're having a swap product. And this swap product is it's not an AMM swap, which makes sense because Kamino, like it would not make sense for them to create another AMM. They're more of a money market. And so the way they're achieving this is they're using, I guess, they're kind of repurposing MEV. So this is a intent-based swap. It's very similar to Cow Swap, except on Solana. So we can scroll through the thread. They claim there's zero slippage, zero fees, and zero MEV. And the reason is because they're using, solvers. Solvers are kind of like RFQs. And it's basically like there's people called MEV searchers who would usually search the blockchain for MEV, and they would, they would sip your milkshake. They would try to profit off of you, like arb your EMM pools and stuff, or sandwich you if you're doing a trade. But here, with these kind of intent-based protocols, what they're doing is those same people who are originally searching for MEV are now flipped, and they're trying to quote you a good quote. So this is why they say there's zero MEV and zero slippage. It's not entirely true. I'm not sure this is completely accurate, but it is a pretty decent framework for a DEX. It's actually not a bad way to do things, and especially for a money market like Kamino, it makes sense to do this because you don't need that much infrastructure. You just need to connect with some solvers. So yeah, it's Kamino is now also doing swaps. Okay, let's see what else is going on. Okay, Odos. Yeah, Odos just launched their token. Odos is it's a pretty good DEX. I think it also integrates arbitrage, and there's a chance that you've used it before. If you use like Llama Swap, you've probably been routed through Odos, and you may have some tokens. They may actually be worth something as well because Odos is a pretty good project. Pancake Swap X. This is a similar idea to Kamino Swap, so this is also another intent-based swap. So it seems like all the AMM DEXs like Uniswap and now Pancake Swap are also offering intent-based swaps just to stay competitive. Okay, let's see what else is going on. Spark raised their interest rates. You can get 12.5%. And then Pendle has S-Curve USD. So this is a Curve's new yield-bearing stablecoin, so there might be some good opportunities there. Okay, and then the next major update is from Frax. So Frax is another OG DeFi project, and this is more of a rebranding, I would say, than a major upgrade, but it's still significant and interesting. So they are rebranding both of their major tokens. The USD token, which used to be called Frax, is now going to be FRX USD, so Frax USD. And then FXS, which is the governance token, is now going to be Frax. So it's actually pretty good. I think this makes a lot of sense. It might be confusing at first because people still have to adjust to this new branding, but I think overall it makes sense because when people say Frax, they're often thinking of the project. So this just makes it clearer that the difference between the stablecoin and the governance token. There are some other small changes. Let's see. Oh, right. They're increasing the yield to going to FRS staked Frax USD. Yeah, so that's one of the changes. Oh, and then the other major change here is that they're changing the gas token. So gas on Fraxtal, which is their own chain, used to be ETH, and now it's going to be FXS. So this is actually kind of interesting because up until now, most L2s have stuck with ETH for gas. I think Mantle was like one which did not. Mantle is not really an official layer 2, but it sort of is. And now Fraxtal, which is kind of a L2 is now using FXS as gas. So I feel like we may see more of this because it's just an obvious way for projects to capture some value. Yeah, that's the Frax rebrand. Yeah, Fluid Governance token. Instadap has been doing very well, and they're now rebranding their token to Fluid. Curve is increasing the fee share for Savings Curve USD. Fuel has an upcoming like TGE. Fuel is a Ethereum L2. Oh, BGD Labs. Okay. Yeah, this is one announcement, Aave v 3.3, and then there's another actually bigger announcement, which is around Aave v4. And this is pretty interesting. So v4, obviously, this is like a major upgrade. And there's two things that, so it's a major upgrade. I'm not going to go through all of it. I haven't actually looked through all of it, but two things stood out to me. One is that, let's see. One is that they're going to be automating their interest rates, which is pretty cool. Right now, Aave uses governance determined interest rates, and that can be an issue because it's hard for people to, governance takes time, and if the market is reacting quickly, then it's hard for the governance to react quick enough to deal with sudden, spikes in demand. So this is pretty cool. And then they're also like, let's see, they're also saying that they're going to change the fundamental structure of Aave. So this is going to be kind of like it's not just refactoring, they're actually changing the way Aave works. So they have what they call a hub and spoke architecture. So there's going to be liquidity hubs and then spokes. I haven't looked into this enough yet, but it does seem like it's more flexible. Yeah, so gonna have to look into that more, but it does look quite cool, and it may, Aave is really cool, it's really safe, but there are some new protocols like Morpho and Euler, which are, more competitive in certain aspects, and it seems like this is going to attack those protocols and make Aave competitive again in those fields, like perhaps like more isolated lending markets and stuff like that. Okay, cool. Okay, so another major, okay, not major, but another interesting development was Derive. So Derive is a rebrand of Lyra, and they kind of changed what they're doing now. They're kind of like selling vaults similar to Ribbon Finance, selling like call options and stuff. And they just announced they're going to have be giving some airdrop, DRV airdrop to EtherFi users. So when they say EtherFi users, they mean people who are depositing EtherFi ETH into Derive, because Derive has a EtherFi call option. So yeah, we actually have covered Derive before for our premium subscribers. We covered this a few weeks ago, I think. We talked about how to use their call option vault. So yeah, if you were a subscriber, you probably got some of this airdrop, and it's still live, so you can still do this. Okay. What else? Let's see. Liquidity. Okay. Some airdrops from last week. Magic Eden was a big one. As I mentioned before, Fuel's airdrop is coming soon. And that's basically it. There's more. There's a lot more. If you're a trader, if you're an airdrop farmer, if you're a regular ETH and USD farmer, there's just tons of information in our last week in DeFi, and I encourage you to read it to make more money.